Well guys, the Street Fighter 6 floodgates have opened and there's gameplay and info absolutely everywhere. The hype train never ends with this game. We just got the Guile trailer. I spent, no jokes, my entire day writing down every piece of information I could. I've looked at footage all day. I must have looked at everything, honestly. And that's what this video is all about. If you guys don't know why there's so much info, it's because there's actually a public demo that was in the Summer Game Fest in LA. Journalists and people in the industry were flown out to play the game for a couple of hours. This was a preview build that included Ryu, Chun-Li, Luke, and Jamie. Unfortunately, I wasn't invited to the event, but trust me guys, I was there in spirit with how much information I know now. First, before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to Theory Fighter, who graciously allowed me to use his footage, and without his footage, we wouldn't get the answer to a lot of these questions. So if you guys want to check out his YouTube page or his Twitter, I'll provide the links to it. I should also do a disclaimer that this is not the final build of Street Fighter 6. This is really early footage. Everything you see, everything I talk about is subject to change. And once again, to be crystal clear, guys, I have not played Street Fighter 6 myself. Everything you hear, everything that I say is confirmed, are things that I've seen with my two eyes, and if it hasn't been something that I've seen and only heard, I'll make that very clear to you guys. Finally, I just want to apologize to you guys in advance that I will not be able to sync all the footage with what I'm talking about on the screen. I just don't have access to the game. It would take me days to stitch together all the footage, and I would have to ask permission for all that footage from so many different people. It's just logistically impossible. When I do get my hands on the game, of course, I'll make the information easier to understand and show it on the screen. So I hope you guys understand. I'm just trying to get the information out, and I appreciate you guys still watching the video. Okay, finally we're done with the intro. So the main things I want to talk about this game, we're going to have to split up into different videos. It will simply be too long. I'd be sitting here for like an hour talking to you guys with all the notes I have. So there's a brand new mechanic in Street Fighter 6 which we didn't know about until today, called punish counters, and this is huge, guys. So to perform a punish counter, all you have to do is hit somebody when they're in a recovering state, or in other words, when you're punishing someone for an attack. So this is different than how counter hits work. So let me show you guys in real time what I mean. Counter hits is only when you hit someone during the startup of their attack. So let's say I'm doing a Ryu punch, okay? When my attack is coming out, if I get hit during any time before it's fully out, it's a counter hit. Then is the active frames. Then comes the recovery frames. After my attack is out and is coming back, during this period, if I get hit, that's when you get the punish counter. And that's why it's called a punish counter. Let's say I try to throw somebody and I whiff the throw. My character goes, ugh. And as he's grabbing and then recovering from that throw whiff, if I get hit during that moment, it's also a punish counter. Let's say I'm throwing a fireball and someone jumps at me as I'm throwing that fireball, that is considered a punish counter. If I do an uppercut and it whiffs and hits nothing but air and I'm coming back down and the opponent hits me, that is also a punish counter. And it doesn't matter whether the attack whiffs or is blocked. So if Ryu does a hurricane kick on you, for example, you block the hits and then you hit him afterwards when he's recovering, it's still a punish counter. So what does a punish counter do anyways? So basically, it's a stronger, more rewarding version of a counter hit. Kind of like crush counter, except it's not a specific button. Instead, anything you punish with will be a punish counter. And for the rest of this video, let's just call it PC so I don't have to say this a million times. So when you land a successful PC on somebody, you're going to see it on the screen, it'll tell you, and then you'll see a giant orange spark effect as well. And we actually saw this in the Guile trailer when Guile punished Luke's uppercut after he blocked it, and we saw that big orange spark effect and that longer combo. That was because it was a PC. Now, what it does is it gives additional hit stun, allowing you to do combos you otherwise couldn't do, similar to like a crush counter. In some cases, not as crazy because it depends on what button you press. If it's like a light punch, it's not going to be that insane of like stun, for example. It's also going to do additional damage, and on top of all of that, it's going to drain the opponent's drive gauge as well. So those three things: more hit stun, more damage, drains the opponent's drive gauge. And when I say bonus damage, I mean it, man. A lot of the hits in this game are gonna be from PCs, and you can actually throw punish somebody and it will be a PC. So for example, if someone does an uppercut and you block it, or a tatsu or whatever, and you punish them with a throw, it's considered a PC, and that throw almost does double damage. It looks like you hit him with 2 throws. It's an insane amount of damage. Now the crazy thing is, the counter to parries in this game is throws, and if you throw someone when they're trying to parry, you will automatically get a PC punish. This new counter hit state is going to completely change how Street Fighter feels for us, guys. I'm not kidding, man. Every move is going to be so much more punishable. It's going to be really scary when you go up against somebody who knows what they're doing and they know how to optimize it. The entire game is going to revolve around this, man. It's going to be nuts. Think about how insane whiff punishing is going to be now. Whether you just sweep somebody when they're like throwing out a single normal, right? Or what about shimmies? Shimmies are going to be absolutely insane. You think they were bad in Street Fighter 5? They're going to be insane in Street Fighter 6 if you get shimmied. You're going to be taking the throws all day in this game. Now, before you guys go crazy in the comments, of course, we don't know how the meta in this game is going to work. It's too early to tell. We don't have the full picture. Throws are going to work differently. There's a lot of mechanics we have to put into account that aren't in Street Fighter 5, such as parry and drive impact, etc. I know. But there's a lot of things to consider, man. If someone's zoning and you jump in on them while they're throwing a fireball, you're going to get a PC, and it's going to be an extended combo. It's going to do more damage and drain their gauge. There's a lot of cool new dynamics now in the game. But even on the surface level, losing drive gauge, even on just a light punch from punish counters, is a pretty clear message to all players that, hey, maybe I should be, a little less careless and stop throwing out things randomly, because if this thing's going to really add up and people are not going to want their drive gauge to completely drain. When we're looking at that Guile trailer footage, we noticed a lot of target combos, but not many links in the game up to this point. Well, with the new PC, this is how you're going to be doing most of your big links, through punishing recovery of attacks. This is going to be cool because you not only have to optimize your combos when you land a hit, you also have to optimize your specific punishes as well, besides the traditional just block and uppercut and you do your crush counter combo. Even if both players are zoning each other like in a fireball war and they're chucking plasma, if one player throws like a normal fireball and the other one does an EX one and it goes through it and knocks them down, even if it's not a lot of damage and maybe you don't have no Oki from that, you're still draining their drive gauge once again, so it's still punishing. In some cases, this will also beef up your anti-air damage. If someone jumps in and does an attack early, they're in recovery, and you do an uppercut, that uppercut's going to do more damage and drain their drive gauge as well. Now that I think about it, doing wake-up reversals are going to be even more dangerous in this game. Let's say you did like a wake-up EXDP and the opponent blocks it. Well, first, just doing that EXDP costs 2 bars of drive gauge, and then when they do a punish, it's going to be a punish counter, and you're going to lose almost another bar of drive gauge. That's almost half your drive gauge right there on top of the big combo they're going to do on you. And then there's the other new mechanics added to this game, such as drive impact, for example, which also will make you worried about throwing out random attacks, because this attack is like a focus. It can absorb your attack, and by the way, that does a punish counter, by the way, and it'll crumple you. So I'm not trying to make this sound like it's so overwhelming with all these new things you never want to press a button. I'm just trying to say that like there's going to be a different flow. So with Street Fighter 5, there's a lot of like super fast, safe attacks, or there's a lot of things that people will throw out because it's -2 on block. It's not like punishable, but it's safe-ish that you can just throw it out. Spacing is really important. If you like walk out, or if you neutral jump something, right, or you walk out of the range of it and you punish it, you'll get a much better reward, and it'll be like the opponent will be like, man, I can't just throw this out randomly all the time. It's not as it's not as free as it was in like Street Fighter 5. I think it was Max that mentioned he was talking to one of the directors of Street Fighter 6, and he was talking about how they learned a lot of things from Street Fighter 5. And if you think about Street Fighter 5, with the V-trigger system where you can get random punishes with like the sweep activate, right, or B+ on block activate, there's a lot of times where you're getting damage when it wasn't risky at all. Now, with less comeback factor in Street Fighter 6, and now with this new punish counter, it seems like you're earning your comebacks now, which is a really great thought. But so far, I really like this mechanic because it's an interesting change. Because it's not something like crush counter where you're just fishing a poke constantly, right? Some of them are really annoying where they're plus on block even, and then you just get this giant reward. Instead, it's the other way around. It's more like the opponent does something that's really unsafe, that's something that's really obvious, and you get to punish them extra hard for it and get a better reward for it. It's just going to help me more. It's going to make the game more spacing based, more footsies based. It's going to make the neutral feel really strong. Just getting those single stray hits is going to be more meaningful in general. I'm really curious on what you guys are going to think about this mechanic. Do you guys think it's maybe a little too punishing? Or you guys think it's going to help the game steer in the right direction to make it more neutral based? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, we've only scratched the surface, guys, on the mountain of information we have. By tomorrow, there's going to be even more information I'm going to have to collect, so I'm going to do my best to try to make it as digestible as I can in bite-sized videos for you guys, and we'll continue to discuss it as we get closer to this game's release date. So once again, guys, I'll do everything I can to cover all that is Street Fighter 6, even if I don't have access to the game, and I really appreciate you guys watching the videos. Alright, guys, until next time, take care.